Good day and welcome to the simplified beneficial ownership filing process for a non-affected company that also happens to be a non-profit company. The logging on the CIPCE services will be as per usual, using your customer code and password to be able to access our CIPCE services. It is also important to make sure that the security code provided is completed as seen, as the security code is case sensitive. Once you have logged on using your customer code and password, the page will refresh where you will now be on a landing page that lists the number of companies that have got the same ID number registered on them as the customer code being used. We would then draw your attention to the top right-hand corner of the web page, where we would like you to then select Transact. Once you've selected Transact, the web page will refresh where a list of CIPC's online services would then be provided to you. We'll draw your attention to the bottom of those options, to the option beneficial ownership, and that is the one that you will click and select, of which the web page will then refresh, and the landing page you start on with would be the declaration. Basically, the declaration confirming that as the filer, you are authorized and mandated to file beneficial ownership information on behalf of the entity that you'll be filing for. Once you've read and agreed to the declaration, you will tick the box next to the agree and then select continue. On this page that you've landed on now will confirm either applications that are in process, rejected, or completed applications. To start a new application, you will scroll down to the bottom and you will then select new. The following page that you would land on will give you a list of companies that have got the same ID number appearing on them as the customer code. You are able to select the company from the list of companies, or you are also welcome to use the enterprise search function at the bottom of the page. Once you've searched for the company, you are now on enterprise confirmation, where it confirms the type of entity, the name and the registration number, as well as the contact details where the OTP will be sent to facilitate the filing of this beneficial ownership submission. You can then just proceed by selecting and clicking on continue. The beneficial ownership registry now confirms the company name and number. You would select affected or non-affected company. On the right-hand side, there's a guide confirming what is an affected company. Ownership questions: does one person hold securities for the beneficial interest of another natural person? You would just select yes or no. Is there a person who exercises any influence or control over the company or the closed corporation, excluding the members or directors? Is there a person with the right to appoint and remove directors of the company, excluding the directors and the shareholders? And the last one being, is there a person or persons that has the ability to materially influence the management of the declaring company? And you can answer those questions simply with a yes or no. The following question that it will ask you is the number of directors and members of the declaring entity. Are they 10 or less? You would select either a yes or no to that. Then click on continue to proceed. Because we're dealing with a non-profit company, the bare minimum is that you would have at least 3 directors appearing. So you will then make use of the edit function next to each of the director information for it to open their information. Here you will just capture the date interest issued for that specific director or beneficial owner. You will select the date by maneuvering and moving on the calendar provided. The type of mandate, you have an option to select between control and interest, and you will quantify the interest by merely typing the amount in there. You will then select save to save the information, and you will follow the same process for the remaining 2 directors. The information will come up. You will maneuver on the calendar to then select the date interest issued for this specific one. Select the member type, either of interest or control in the company. You will then proceed to the bottom to save, and you will do so for the 3rd director. By clicking on the edit function, The information opens. You confirm the date interest issued by maneuvering on the calendar and selecting the member type, being it interest or control, as we are dealing with a non-profit company. You quantify the interest, and then you will then proceed to select save. Once captured for all of the appearing 3 directors on the company, you would then select continue. On this page, it gives you a confirmation summary of the information captured on the previous page for those directors, being the member interest type, the issue date, as well as the quantified interest value. You will then select continue to proceed. We have now reached the OTP page, and on OTP, the filer would be the one who will then send the OTP. You will then notice that there's a red box with a cross there to confirm that the OTP is not confirmed or verified as yet. You would then just complete the OTP, knowing that you either have an option of either completing an OTP received from your cell phone or an OTP received via email. Once verified, you will get a green tick confirming that the OTP has been accepted. It is important to then proceed to select finish to then conclude the application. Once the application is concluded, the filer will then receive a confirmation email confirming the submission of the beneficial ownership declaration for this non-profit company. We've reached the end of the demo. Thank you very much.